My name is Davon Harris. I am a 3L student at Brooklyn Law. I work in the mental health field and I have a startup called Happiroom. Along with my friends,
Hi, I'm Sue Chung. I'm Jessica Sophia Wong.
we are launching a podcast, this podcast titled The Happy Room. We'll be inviting people to come and talk about their personal stories of overcoming adversity. I think most people have had to overcome adversity throughout their lifetimes, just in many different ways. But if you live long enough, you'll have to face it. So we'll be sharing our stories and inviting others to talk about their stories. So a little bit about me. I'm a born and raised New Yorker. Started off Harlem, New York, moved to the Bronx, then Westchester, Connecticut. Seen a lot of different things growing up, different class levels, different neighborhoods, socioeconomics. I did make a lot of mistakes as a youth. Lack of guidance, lack of support, not listening to my parents led me to incarceration, drug addiction, which led to mental health. I definitely know all about adversity. As we continue to develop this podcast and you guys continue to follow us, I would definitely share that. I went with someone who was doing 4 years in state prison, considered to be criminally insane at one point. Probably thought that I would never be stable again to 10 years later, 1 year from finishing law school. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So yeah, and my story was, let me see, how can I start this? So I used to live in upstate New York, and I was from somewhere else, but I moved to New York City about, oh my God, over a decade, almost 20 years ago. Anyway, growing up was, sort of hard. In a way that my personality, sort of very different than a lot of people that I know within my, my neighborhood and all that. I'm very outspoken, and definitely, like coming from, I do have a complicated family background, so in a way that it sort of affected me for like a couple years in my early adulthood. But as I grow older, I overcome it. But I realized one thing, I do have friends, that around me, or I've been into relationship with people that never resolve their childhood trauma or mental health. And for someone who be in a close relationship to that person is a very challenging issue. So I, would love to be in this podcast, to show perspective from the loved one, of someone that going through that, because even though you're going through, any emotional health, mental health, at the end of the day, it's not just you, but there'll be people around you who'll be affected too. But it's okay, we in this together, and we, we'll see how can we help each other. Yeah, and how about you, Sue?
So yeah, where do I start? Because it's so I am the first in my family to be born in the U.S. So it's definitely hard because there's that, cultural gap between me and my family. So that was really hard growing up, and it was also pretty hard because like I was bullied a lot as a kid. So I think I just grew up struggling with like anxiety and depression. But like I've always tried to, keep like a positive outlook. But it was definitely really hard because sometimes I almost felt like I was faking it. But it was like a long process of like going to therapy, like Jess said, like finding the right people to support you and, like listening to yourself and honoring yourself. Like you are able to overcome that, those difficulties, and I think it's important that we open a dialogue, and because it from the outside looking in, like you don't know like what someone else is going through, but we all have things that as you can see, like we're all struggling with different things, and it doesn't help to like keep it in. It's in my experience, it's always been better to share and be open, and because other people are going through similar things as you.
Definitely. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you sharing your story as well. Just for our growing audience and future audience, so you guys know, we're not just like, again, as you can hear, we're not just like your typical professionals or law students or future lawyers, or people who are just speaking on spaces which they've never been in. We've all been in it in some form of fashion. Jess with her loved ones, her maids, Sue, her personal struggles, me, plenty personal struggles, and so we're just gonna get into some dialogue here, and feel free to comment, like, subscribe. We definitely welcome it. I'll start off with just talking about me, and I guess you guys can ask questions, and we can just share, because this is sort of how this space will flow in the future. We can invite guests. But me personally, yeah, I remember I got arrested in 2010, which was a very, very rough place for me. I was very unstable, addicted to drugs. I got arrested for setting grass on fire. It was supposed to be like criminal mischief, and like it ended up becoming arson, right? And like I didn't damage the home or the motor vehicle. The fire never actually lit because I think something was the soil, so it was like 30 seconds. I was actually sent to state prison.
For lighting grass on fire?
4 years in prison. 4 years in prison.
That seems very extreme.
And that sort of, it was extreme. It was a lot at first. I was like hearing voices. I was coming up drug withdrawals. I was like not in a good place. And I seen how the system basically just discarded me, right? Like I was just like an expendable life, like no one cares, right? Like, and I was put in records on a very hostile environment. At this time, I felt like I was just begging, like, hey, I need treatment, I need therapy, like I'm aware that I need a place. This is the first time I personally experienced mental health issues. I do have a family history of mental health, but it didn't hit me till I was 23, 24. And so this is like something new to me, someone who's never had like these kind of issues, and there was no safe space. During that time, I went through a lot. Altercations in prison, being mistreated by COs, being over-medicated, under-medicated, getting the wrong medications, gaining like 100 pounds. It was just like, I just seen how the system fails people. And at first, I was very hopeless, to be honest. But with prayer, me being a Christian, a God fan, with prayer, with hope, things got better. My mental health got stable. I came home from prison in 2019. No, I'm lying. I got 2014, and I just went to school. I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a criminal again. I don't want to be in an environment where I'm vulnerable and helpless, right? Where like I know people don't care for me, so I can't make those mistakes. So I went to school from a shelter. It's in LaGuardia Community College, living in the shelter on Lexington Avenue, 124th Street in Harlem. Like vomiting in the showers, dope needles in the showers, just a really horrible place, and just kept that resilience. And from there, ended up getting me like a room, getting a job, working hard, getting to the NYU, studying psychology there. I got a better understanding of myself and others and how to help others, which led me to a career in mental health, being a behavioral health specialist, being a case manager, a supervisor case manager, a peer counselor, a crisis counselor, so many different things, which is where my heart truly is. But shifting now, because as I grow older, I realize that the one way to help people is to empower people. But that's a little about me. It was a lot, but I think that adversity is good, right? It's in the present, adversity seems to be a lot, right? Like if you're going through depression, you're going through prison, you're going through domestic violence, it's like, oh my God, what am I going through? And you should not go through those things, but when it makes you like pulse, right? Like I think that strength and that character that comes from these struggles is priceless, right? I appreciate my struggles.
Yeah, this is what I always say, that it's kind of like in our life we always look back to the people that hurt us, or like being any negative environment, but at the end of the day, because of the bad things that happen, it make us to become who we are today. So, silver lining. And what you're going through, you went through a lot, and and your transformation is incredible. I'm so proud of you. And coming from, I have Asian background. Coming from Asian family is definitely not an easy.
It's rough.
It's rough. There's no. I'm just gonna say out loud. There's no mental health or emotional health education or concern. There's no such
They don't
such
believe
thing.
it. Yeah.
They don't believe.
They don't
it.
believe it. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, not to pick on only Asian families. I'm sure
So much.
just people of the older generation.
Yeah.
They don't really. They don't believe it's a thing. So I'm glad these. I feel like recently, I think the stigma, or maybe not the stigma, but people have been more open about their mental health issues and everything. So I think that's great.
It is, but it's not fast enough. But it's still a stigma. But then again, this is why everyone who's listening to this podcast, that you have to know that it's okay. Whatever emotion that you're feeling is totally normal. And it's okay to find someone to talk about it. And it's okay that if you don't fit in. Growing up, I never fit into my school. I had so many nicknames, really, really bad nicknames. I'm not even gonna mention it. But then again, as I grow older, I know this is just my personality. I don't fit into the environment, which is fine. But if I were to get affected by it, I would probably be in a very bad situation. But I never let that bother me. But it's high school is rough. Yeah. So and also childhood trauma is real, and unfortunately I came across a lot of adults that have childhood trauma that never got resolved, to the point that they're not able to maintain a regular relationship, regardless professional, friendship, or a family, or even a romantic relationship. They're having a hard time to open up, be vulnerable, and to trust, because of everything that happened from the childhood. So it's important that you have to find a good peer support or a good therapy to talk about it, because you know why? If you don't get that resolved, it's gonna impact you for a long run. Yeah.
Can I ask both of you, what do you think your childhood trauma, can you name one childhood trauma you've gone through, and what did you do to overcome it? Damon, do you think, was it because your childhood that you went down that route?
Committing crimes, petty crimes, and using drugs. I would say neglect. I wouldn't say my parents weren't neglectful, right? They weren't abusive. But my mom was constantly working. My stepfather raised me, who was actually my father, but I call my father. But they were working. My father was a mailman. My mother worked for board education, then insurance. They didn't have the time to pour into us, guide us. They were trying to pay the bills, keep clothes in our bags and food in our refrigerator. And, I think for me, there was childhood trauma, but I wouldn't say there was severe trauma because I wasn't abused or mistreated.
Yeah,
I did have a rocky relationship at home, but it was more not paying attention to me. It wasn't physical abuse. I think as a child, when you have, I was always an ambitious kid. So I had a dream every other day, right? And I would try to share it. My mom didn't have. She was too tired to listen, and then it made me feel like she didn't hear me. I wasn't being received, and which I started finding people in the community. Especially when I moved from Harlem to the Bronx, I found people. I'm 13, 14 at this time, and I found people hey, I want to be this. I want to have this. I want to acquire this. And they're hey, me too. And their parents are busy. Some of their parents are on drugs, and we're going to team up and figure out a way to get these things that we want. And that led me to a life of petty crime. I would say I wouldn't say I was a kingpin, but
setting glass on fire.
I was just doing like stupid reckless stuff.
I actually done some petty crime when I was a kid.
What
Oh,
did
you know the thing is like so my mom and my dad, like I mean I don't really have a close relationship with my family, and you know they were working a lot, you know, like and I was sort of raised by my grandparents, and being like I was the only child at the time before my brother was born in Brooklyn, but anyway, so I was the queen. I can do everything. So sometimes I just do things just to get attention. You know, like I will steal a pen. I'm like, hey, why not? You know, those small things, of course, you know, like happen maybe once or twice. And that's about it. But I would say my biggest struggles. Oh my God, weight. My physical appearance. I'm not small. I am not short. And I'm not skinny. Even when I was 12, when I was like 12 years old, I was already 5'6". I'm taller than a lot of people.
And you were in Asia at this point.
I was in Asia at the point, and it was so growing up as a kid, even when I was 8 years old, I was already like 5'5". I mean, I'm 5'8" now, so still pretty tall, but I still couldn't reach, you know, the top shelf yet. So yeah, weight issue, you know, because just the fact that, and I used to be much skinnier than me, like what you see right now. I used to be like, you know, much smaller, but even with that frame, I think I was about 130 pounds, 140 pounds. People call me fat. And I was 135 pounds at like 5'6". And
wait, how old were you when they did that?
oh my God, they've been calling me that ever since I was like 7 years old. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Not only that my peers would call me that, my family members sometimes they would say that too. So to the point that I sort of, you know, like at one point my personality started to develop. I become a bit more boyish. So like like whoever bully me, I'll play prank. So I was really good at pranking people. Like I pranked all the guys in my school, and it was pretty awesome. But going through that is but going through that kind of thing really affect me. Even adulthood, when I moved back to New York and New York City and all that, it just really affect me that I don't think I'm pretty enough, or I'm good enough. Just the fact that this is how people see me, especially coming from a family member. It's like, oh my God, you gained so much weight. Oh my God, look at you. You should stop eating and all that. It took years, to overcome it. So, I mean, it's still in the back of my mind, and I still think, I'm not at where I want to be yet. But at the end of the day, I think my self-confidence, sort of come back, in a different way. But yeah, it's still, that would be my struggle, the weight issue. Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that, because I definitely went through that. And even though like I said, I was the first to be born in America, and everyone's like all different sizes and shapes and colors, like my entire family would be like, oh, you're too fat, you're too loud, you're too tall. And I'm like,
yeah,
you fed me, like I don't understand, like, and as a kid, it's like, it's not like I knew what proper nutrition is. Like thinking back, I'm like, I just ate what you gave me. But then it's like, oh, you blame me for like, oh, you grew too fat or too tall, and it's not fair. And then you definitely do internalize like, oh, I'm not attractive enough, and I think it definitely shows up in the dating world, or just in general, like your self-esteem is pretty bad.
I think that happens in a lot of like cultures, though. Like maybe not like I'm pretty sure like within like different cultures there's different standards of beauty, right? Like yeah, but I think even like me growing up, like I would say that because my dad didn't pour confidence into me, I think I struggled with confidence for a very long time. I think I didn't start developing like confidence and like high levels of self-esteem. It was like 24 or 23 years old, maybe like 25 actually, 24, 25. Like during my breakdown, like I went so low, I had to like rebuild myself, right? Like I went to prison, I was with mental health addiction struggling, and during that time, it was like I'm at rock bottom. Like I'm stripped of identity. Like I feel like I was stripped of pride, ego. Like I'm helpless. I'm hopeless, and I had to find that strength and go on that journey, right? Like that spiritual journey, emotional, all kind of different journeys. Psychological.
Do you think you gained confidence afterwards?
I think during that struggle, like from 24 to like 28, 29, 30, like 24 on, my confidence just kept developing because it was like the options that I was being given were like, you're gonna be a recidivist criminal, or you're gonna be on drugs, or you're gonna be on psych medication your rest of your life and be unstable. And I feel like the stigmas that came along with people that were in my situation, or like I guess like the future narratives of people that had my kind of issues, were like these things that I wasn't comfortable with. So I think that resilience, right? Like, no, I'm not going to be just some guy that's on medication, living in some sort of assisted housing environment, and not doing anything with yourself. Or I'm not going to be like a returning criminal or angry person. But yeah, I think, like I said, we all struggle with that. Like me personally, like when I was a kid, like I had this scar, and I'll never forget. I caught this scar when I was 9 years old, and I think I was searching for like confidence with this new scar. It's just like, okay, I had this new thing on my face. Like, how do I feel about this? And because my mom just never had time to pour into me, no one helped me develop that confidence. So I think up until like 21, I was still like shy of this scar. I wouldn't take my hat off or like a scarf on my head. Like it was like we were like young kids, like these scarves and like do-rags, just like crazy young city stuff. But yeah, and we all are affected in different ways in the household. And either it's like the family standard of beauty, or it's the community standard of normal. And just to go back to what you were saying, I don't think any young kid should ever feel like bothered by not being accepted, right? Like if you're the outcast, you're accepted, and people are like judging you, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be the successful person later on in life, right? Because like most people just go with the flow, right? Like they go with the norm. Like this is the norm. I don't wanna feel judged, I don't wanna feel outcasted, I don't wanna stand out, I don't wanna show how smart I am or how different I am. And then you end up being the norm within your community, right? But I find that those young men and women that are like, no, like I'm gonna be local. I like to read. I like poetry. I like to dance. I like science, right? I don't care if you call me a nerd, if you call me whatever. I'm gonna be myself. That character later on in life just builds up to something priceless that leads you to many, many successes.
You know, speaking of the sky, I remember one thing from like when I was a kid. I remember there was one time, and I was, like in the house, I was playing around, going up and down the stair. Eventually, I fell down the stair, and I was crying. And my mom didn't say anything. That, are you okay? The only thing she said at the time was like, you did it to yourself. You deserve it. My uncle was like, how can you say that to her? She fell. Like, yeah, but she deserved it. She was playing on the stair. It's like growing up, I never received any compliments, no matter how good that I did and all that. It's one thing, but it never really affect me that much. I'm just an outcast, like you said, like I complete outcast. I'm a lone wolf. I did my thing, and people pick on me. I'm like, and I'll just find a way to prank you back, pretty much. But that's one thing though. Relationship with children and parents are very important. As an adult, especially when you have kids, you have no idea how much your interaction with each other will affect the child growing up. This is like completely opening up. Not really a lot of people know about that. My dad was not he's sort of like a poly guy, polygamous. So like growing up, I'm struggling between different mother figure in my life, as you can call it. It does traumatize me a lot, like to one point that definitely, I feel that like I lost like trust and confidence for men in general, because I don't have a role model. And you know, like I'm always stuck in between, you know, all this family drama and all that. Even until now, things like that still happen. Of course, like my view for like relationship are very different than 10 years ago, but it does affect me a lot growing up. And I was having this conversation yesterday with one of my really good friends that she recently had a baby, and I'm like, you know, as a parent, as a couple, it's very important and crucial that you have a good marriage, and you know, because you know why, your kid will learn from you. So if you're not happy with each other, that will, you know, that will get affected in a way that you couldn't be, you know, imagine. That's what I'm gonna say. And how about your story too?
I mean, I guess I just want to comment on that. Like, in my opinion, I feel like, you know, to be fair to like the parents, like, they're people, they're flawed. I get it, you know, and you know, it's like flawed people raising these little sponges that absorb everything, the good and the bad, and it's tough, you know. Like, they are a product of their generation, of their time, of you know, what came before them. And honestly, that's why I kind of feel like no matter what, I think everyone should have therapy, should go to therapy.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you're not even aware of some of the things you do. You know, like we're all flawed people.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
and yeah, but it does sound like a pattern of like we all grew up with like lack of confidence or not being able to like have someone teach us that confidence. Because you know, like I said, like I also had the whole like you know, they picked on me for like my weight. My parents also, you know, my family also made comments. But then it's also like, oh, being the first to be born in the U.S., it's like, oh, like your Chinese isn't good enough. Like you don't know how to use your chopsticks. It's just like things are different about me, and they can't comprehend why I was different, even though I was in a different environment, right? And it definitely made me feel not good enough, right? And yeah, and then it just seems like then you go out and you search for different ways to become confident, right? And it seems like sometimes it can be like, I mean, hopefully you find a good way to make it build up your self-confidence, but then other times it's like, you know, you do things that harm yourself just to like sort of build yourself up. Because I definitely felt like I threw myself into like academics. Like, you know, I was like the straight A student, you know, I was gonna make my parents like proud of me, you know, maybe like, yeah, my Chinese isn't that good and I'm like, you know, overweight or whatever, but you know, like I have something of value. And I think like that actually, even though like I grew very confident and like, oh, you know, I think I'm an intelligent person, it did harm me in a way because it felt like, oh, I have to validate myself for your love. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing these things to like prove to other people like, oh, I'm worthy. You know what I mean? And it took a lot of trial and error to like find a healthy way to like build up my self-esteem and my confidence. And it definitely took like, you know, like, oh, you know, sometimes I would like drink a lot, especially in college, to like get, you know, be confident and be outgoing, you know, but it's like, it's trying to fill that hole. And yeah, I mean, I'm, you know, not perfect now even, you know, I'm still finding healthy ways to like build myself up. So yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting to like hear you guys talk about like your lack of confidence as a kid and how you try to build that up like as you grow up.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, like my relationship with my father was really bad, still bad. I mean, but you know, at least I try to ignore him. Certain things that he did still really get on my nerve. I'll try to avoid it, but sometimes I just have the personality that if you did something wrong, I'm gonna speak up. I'm like, no, that's not right. And from my dad, he's like, I'm the man of the household. You don't talk to me like that. I'm your father. I'm like, I don't care. Okay, what is right, what is wrong. So this is pretty much my personality. So we always bump head. I saw him earlier this year, and it was, can you believe that? Like I had my first family dinner together in my whole life with my mom, my dad, and my brother and me. And it was a disaster pretty much. So it was really tough, being with, just in that environment for 2 weeks. But yeah, I come back, I just, continue to do my things. And yeah, in sort of for me, I have to, I I try to make myself come back out, because I know I'm different, and I know my family would never understand me. At this point, that's just sort of give up on me, that know that I'm just very different, my own personality and all that. So how I act with all my friends is how I act with my family, the way I talk and all that. They're just get used to it. They're no longer, pushing all the pressure on me that, oh my God, you need to do this, do that. They're just nope. She's like a wild bird, So, but confidence is very hard to build, especially for women. I mean, I involved with a couple, some United Nations program, like UN Women and all that. I do came across a lot of women that having a hard time, to go out there or be out the community, to start a business or really fend for themselves, because in so many culture, so many community that, women still expect to be someone that stay home and be a mom. Even in New York, I remember I would get off from car, Uber or taxi, people would ask, are you married? And do you have kids? I'm like, why? Well, because you should. I'm like, what? It's just kind of like the gender role these days. People still have the perception that how we should play our gender role, and it's okay if you're not following that path. If you have your own timeline, and it's totally fine. And I'm seeing a lot of people being pressured by the society and the family members, and and then end up doing something they don't really want to do, but they're doing it just to please their family or people around them. But I don't think that's right. But I understand it's hard, because those are the voices that you heard that, if you don't do that, you're not good enough.
I agree, and I think confidence is key. I also think character is a big thing, right? Because we are sponges coming up, and we all talk about our personal struggles as youth, and even as adults, you're still a sponge, right? If you hang around, I always say you become who you hang around, right?
That's the same.
You are the
average,
right?
Yeah,
you are the 5% or whatever, or you are the average of the 5% that you regularly hang out
yes.
with.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that to this day, right? I'm someone that I grew up in the hood for a large segment of my life. So I have friends that we've been friends. We don't really hang out, but I've known them when I was a child. So I'll hang out with them for a couple of weeks, and then I'll see they're taking a toll on me, right? These guys don't want to do anything. No aspirations, no ambitions. A lot of them do have trauma, though. To be fair to them, they're confused. They're lost, dealing with being institutionalized, not having loving parents. So I get it, but I want to help. That's why I'm developing these kind of platforms. At the same time, I have visions, right? So.
No, I think it's important you have your own boundaries.
Yeah, right.
I think, as you get older and you gain your confidence, you do feel you know what, my feelings are valid, my thoughts, my dreams or whatever, they're valid, and then these people that don't agree, you have to set boundaries, unfortunately, with them.
Boundaries the key.
Yeah.
As
it took me so long to learn that, because it was I love my family, I love even friends, and then it's but I'm just unhappy
Around you.
Yeah,
Around you.
and then you say these things to me, and you want me to think it came from a place of love, but it's
Even the most fearing
but
thing.
it hurts.
Yeah.
It invalidates me as a person, and I'm well, what? So the only way you can survive is have boundaries.
Yeah, part of my wrong use of the English language. The most fearful thing is that you can normalize this, right? If you keep these people around you, they can be friends, family, professional, coworkers, if you keep these people in your space too long, you start to normalize these characteristics. And the next thing you know, you're doing that to others. You're like, hold on, where did I learn this from, right? So that's why I say character is important. And that's why I'm big on like mentors and like community building. Like I have given a lot of my time to like activist organizations, a lot of grassroots organizations, church, because kids need to see functional relationships, professionals, people that don't come with gaslighting and manipulation and trauma. And we all have trauma, but not like projecting the trauma onto others. And you need to see people that are like just quote unquote good people to your standard, right? Because good is kind of subjective, unless it's like the universal wrongs that we all agree with. But and that's why, for me, honestly, I was fortunate enough to run into like people throughout my life. Even if they weren't there long enough, I will have them in my life long enough to say, okay, that's what love should look like. That's what finances should look like. That's what profession should look like, right? Because as me growing up as a young man, I buried myself in drugs and alcohol and crime, and I didn't even think I wanted to be there, but it provided the out from a household where I didn't feel like acknowledged or accepted or appreciated or supported. Like I said, I wasn't like locked in a dungeon, but I just think, and it's funny because we all come from different families and different cultures and probably different socioeconomics, but it's funny how all three of our parents made that same mistake, right? Not taking the time out to pour that confidence into their children. And for me, I noticed it at a young age, and I left home at 17.
And unfortunately, you try to build your confidence some other way, and you know, it led you down this path. Unfortunately, you know, like. And
I say fortunately because if I didn't go down that path, I wouldn't be on it.
That's fair. That's fair.
And back to the boundaries topic, I think like boundaries is one of the big topics that a lot of people are still learning, you know, to say no. Having the courage to walk away, you know, from like any like abusive, toxic relationship. I think that is one of the hardest things.
Yeah, and I think like, you know, when you have kids, I think it is important to respect their boundaries too. I think that's like one of the biggest mistakes. Like, I mean, not that I'm a parent, you know. I mean, I don't know. I might not know what I'm talking about, but it does help them realize like, oh, you know, I am an individual and I do have like feelings and thoughts that are valid. And if I'm not happy with this, these are my boundaries, and that should be okay. You know, that should be, because I definitely had like my parents like just completely disregard my boundaries.
I agree.
You know, and then that becomes, like you say, it becomes normal. And then you seek out relationships, like friendships or romantic relationships, where like, oh, that's normal. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
I was in a toxic relationship. I knew it was bad, but I wasn't able to walk away. But, you know, of course, you know, there's a lot of like, you know, high moment, you know, like happy moment. But then again, I realized, you know, I start to change to, you know, to be less social, a little bit more introverted, which is not me. I'm very extroverted.
She's the most extroverted out of all of us. Like, oh my God. Just hearing her schedule on a like day-to-day basis, I'm just tired. I'm just tired listening to it.
Yeah. So I was, you know, like I was doing a lot of work, you know, just to make sure that I'm caring for the other person's feeling, which is fine. But then again, you know, to the point that I felt suffocated, that I knew something was wrong, but I wasn't able to walk away because I felt like I'm his whole life. And, you know, it's just kind of like a, you know, like, but I did manage to walk away. And, you know,
what caused you? Like, what was the catalyst that made you?
Well, I need to, so what happened, it was really, really bad, you know, toxic, abusive, you know, like everything, emotional torture and all that. And to the point that, you know what, like he went back and I'm like, okay, let's break it off, whatever. And then I went off on my own. I was backpacking by myself. And at the time, I felt like, okay, I'm willing to give you a chance again for a second chance and as a shot, and you know, maybe we can work things out. And so we met up again, and we sort of got back, but he got worse. To the point that I was meeting my family for New Year's, the phone call, everything just won't stop coming in. It was horrible. And then right before pandemic, it finally ended. So during pandemic lockdown, I spent about like a couple months, a half a year to completely moved on. But then again, I realized how toxic it was. Like why I wasn't able to, why I wasn't able to walk away at that time. I guess because I was lost. I was during the transition of, career transition. I left my job in the luxury interior design space, and become fully independent, and I met him, and sort of I was in the place where I was finding myself. So, but yeah, I finally walked away, but I realized that how setting boundaries was so important. Of course, even though it was a bad relationship, but I learned that's good and bad. I always find a reason to, when bad things happen, that's the reason that it happened, that I'm gonna learn something, just so I'm not gonna make that mistake again. So moving forward, I know exactly what I do not want, and I'll make sure of that. But it's hard to walk away, and I'm not the only one. I have met so many people, in also relationship, friends too, even a regular friendship. If you don't set your boundaries right, it's gonna affect you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you want to be with people, that will bring you joy, and you want to be there when the time is hard. But then again, it has to come in from both ways to make it work, not just from one side. And everything takes work. Even a parent relationship, siblings relationship, it takes work. You need to do a little maintenance. So yeah, boundaries is crucial, and also walking away is a big lesson to learn.
Yeah, so I agree with that, and thank you for sharing. I think this was great. I mean, we were able to just be vulnerable here, and that's the kind of space that we're going to curate amongst ourselves and amongst our guests and our viewers. I think that this isn't easy stuff to share, right? Like this is the type of stuff that you bottle up and you keep inside, and you go to your grave with it. But I think there's power in truthfulness and honesty, and just getting out there, because all of us just touch on so many different things, and we come from different socioeconomic, different cultural backgrounds, and we were able to, Lord knows how many people will watch this and say, I identify with her or him, right? So I think that's just the power of being human and giving back. So to our viewers, we appreciate you watching this. This will be a continuous thing that will be released every, we'll say Sunday or Monday.
Well, we're trying to make, this is our first one, but yeah, we're gonna try to have more content. So I would say that if any one of you interested to be on the show, let us know. If you're in New York area, would be great. For me, I travel a lot, so if you just reach out, we'll make it work. We'll try to be, to include you on the show, sharing your journey. And we're also working on a very exciting project too. You want to tell us about it too, as a CTO?
Yeah. So we, really do believe in just the power of, communication and sharing our stories, connecting with other people. So we're working on this app where it's a safe space for people who are going through issues or just need a friend to talk to get on there. It's anonymous. You share you can pick the topic that you want to talk about. You share what's going on with you, and hopefully you can find a community, find a safe space, and that will help you overcome whatever it is that you're going through.
Definitely. Just we should be, we're making some updates. I don't know when you'll watch this, but close towards November, you should definitely check us out. We're Happiroom. We're on the Apple Store. We're currently there probably now, but we're making some changes. Just come on this journey with us. Watch our podcast, download our app, get in contact with if you want to share. We welcome all support. We welcome all stories. I think we just want to be a positive impact in the community, and as a corporation, we want to be definitely a corporation that gives back to the people that empower us. Right?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we are three of us. We are the co-founders for Happiroom, CTO, CEO, and COO. And I would like to just say one thing, that you are not alone. Just remember, and you are never alone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. See you next time. Okay, let's check this.